Well, during today's testimony, Attorney General Sessions expressed his frustration, you just saw it, over the use of anonymous leaks to sabotage his career.
But some of these leaks, as you well know, are extraordinarily damaging to the United States security. And we have got to restore a regular order principle. We cannot have persons in our intelligence agencies, our investigative agencies, or in Congress leaking sensitive matters on staff. So this is, I'm afraid, will result in, is already resulting in investigations, and I'm fear that some people may find that they wish they hadn't leaked.
Congressman Sean Patrick Maloney represents New York State. He's been a critic of the Attorney General for months now. Now that Sessions has finally testified, has his view changed? He joins us now to tell us. Congressman, thanks for coming on.
Good to be with you.
So I don't expect you to agree with the Attorney General's policies or his core beliefs as a senator, but I think we can both agree that when the former FBI director comes into open testimony and suggests, as he did, that Sessions had some sort of untoward ties to Russia or done something wrong that he couldn't explain publicly and therefore had to recuse himself from the Russia investigation, that's impugning a man's character without being specific about it, therefore unfair, and it's awful to do that to Sessions.
Well, I think you're putting a little bit of a spin on it. The fact is that the Attorney General did recuse himself because of his conflicts in the area, and so that's all the FBI director was saying.
That's not what he said. He actually said the opposite.
Excuse me, I appreciate that there was a bit of a. I appreciate that there was a bit of an air left there of impropriety, and I agree with you, is what I'm trying to say.
No, what he said was there were other reasons. I think I'm quoting him. There are other reasons, but I can't say what they were in public. He goes behind closed doors with the senators and says, we believe that he may have met with the Russian ambassador a third time at the Mayflower Hotel in April. That's exactly what you don't want the guardians of your national intelligence to do, use it for political reasons unfairly against a citizen.
Right, but you wouldn't have said that about Mark Felt, who was an FBI agent who was deep throat.
I'm not sure what you mean. I would always say that it's wrong for intelligence officers or people whose job it is to hold these secrets to use them against others for political reasons.
Well, let me just stop you right there. So you would prefer that we had never known about the Watergate scandal?
I would prefer that people's jobs and careers and reputations weren't destroyed by the selective leaking of inaccurate information.
Right. Well, a lot of White House aides went to jail over Watergate. Their careers were destroyed.
But that's exactly the point I'm making.
It is exactly the point.
The point I'm making is that the former FBI director and a series of Democrats in Congress suggested that Jeff Sessions had done something improper with Russia. They weren't specific about it because they didn't have the facts. They were trying to impugn his character, his reputation. He testifies openly today, and at the end of it, are you convinced that he's not a Russian agent? Listen,
I am actually not that concerned with what Jeff Sessions did, and I think you are making a fair point that he has come in for a lot of suggestions of inappropriate activity with the Russians without a lot of proof. But there is a mountain of evidence that people like Michael Flynn and Paul Manafort were getting paid improperly, lied about it, are very likely to face criminal prosecution. As a matter of fact, exactly that. Michael Flynn has admitted taking tens of thousands of dollars for his speech in Moscow, didn't disclose it. As a former military officer, he was required to, didn't get permission, lied about it on his forms, and did the same thing with his interactions with Kislyak. That's almost certainly a crime, Tucker, and I'm very concerned that we not muddy up the two things. You can be properly worried about people leaking.
Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General of the United States, just testified all afternoon. Mike Flynn didn't. I mean, I'm talking about the sitting Attorney General who has been the subject of these implications that he's somehow betraying his country.
Right, and when you take these positions, sometimes you take some hits, and the fact is that the last time he testified falsely under oath. That's not in dispute. He testified falsely about a meeting with the Russian Ambassador Kislyak, who we know is the chief spy master here in the U.S.
It is in dispute.
So that's why there were some questions.
If you're going to stipulate it, let's be clear. It is in dispute, and his position is, I was not acting. He was asked by the senator from Minnesota, were you acting as a Trump surrogate? His position was he wasn't. Okay, so like there's a different interpretation.
Well, no,
are you suggesting that he was having improper contact with the Russians? Like, what are you saying?
Did not say that. Excuse me. What I said was he testified falsely, and he admitted as such later when he went out and sought to amend his remarks. He also failed to correct that testimony for months. That's why there are some questions.
I don't think he admitted that he testified falsely.
I think if you watch his press conference, he said he spoke.
I've spoken about it on this set.
Right.
And my only point is, look, what is this about? It's about the implication he's working for the Russians.
Well,
and what the hell is that?
No, your point just changed. The fact is that he testified falsely, and that raised some questions. That's why we want to hear about him.
I'm not accepting that point, and neither is he.
There's a couple other important points. Let's talk about those. One, he recused himself from the Russian investigation.
Correct.
The President of the United States said that the firing of the director of the FBI was at least in part or certainly related to that investigation. There's a lot of legitimate questions about why Jeff Sessions was involved in that when he's recused. That's also why he was brought up today.
Not my job to defend Jeff Sessions, but it does seem nonsensical to say that the head of the Justice Department, who oversees the director of the FBI, can't supervise the director of the FBI because there's a Russian investigation going on. Is he recusing himself from running the Justice Department?
No, but he should be recused from a conversation about firing that individual because of that investigation, and that's the point.
I think everyone would agree that there are multiple reasons Jim Comey was fired.
Well, the President gave us the primary one.
Well, the President gave us a number of them, and one of them was his conduct more generally, his conduct earlier, whatever. But the point is, Jeff Sessions runs the Justice Department. Are you saying that he shouldn't be involved in decisions about the future of the FBI director?
In fact, I think what we understand is that Rod Rosenstein and Jeff Sessions gave reasons why Jim Comey might be dismissed. I happen to agree with those concerning his conduct in the last campaign. But it was the President who said, I was thinking about Russia, and that's the point.
Okay.
The point is that if the firing's about Russia and Sessions is recused from Russia, he should not be involved in the firing. It's pretty simple stuff.
Okay, it's not actually simple in any way, and you're making it so because it makes a clear political hit. But the truth is, it's complex. There are a lot of reasons, and you may agree or disagree with some of them, but it's not just about Russia. And the point is, again, the guy runs the Justice Department. You don't want him to. You didn't support him being there in the first place. I get it, but a Democrat didn't win the presidency, so you don't get to make that choice.
Right.
And so the idea that he can't run the agency he's in charge of.
Didn't say that.
Okay, so what are you saying exactly?
Didn't say that. He can absolutely run the agency for as long as the President wants him to, but he should not be involved in Russia.
Okay, so
and the firing was about Russia.
Look, wouldn't it just be a little easier? Wouldn't it be a little easier if you disagree with the Trump administration's policies on various things, to just explain why you disagree with those, rather than try to derail the whole executive branch of government with an insane Russia conspiracy? Can we just admit Jeff Sessions was not working on behalf of the Russians? He's a patriotic American just like you are, and we're going to drop the innuendo and the McCarthyite tactics because it's counterproductive.
Right. Well, what we know is that all of the people we pay to do this tell us that we faced an unprecedented attack by a hostile power. Some of us want to know what the extent of that was. In the last few days, we've learned that the Russians now access 39 states' electoral systems. We don't know why. We don't know the extent of the damage. That's on top of what we knew about what they did at the DNC.
I'm sorry. I thought that Jeff Sessions was a senator from Alabama and Donald Trump was a presidential candidate when that happened. Barack Obama was the president when that happened. I mean, look, you're conflating things. The truth is Jeff Sessions had nothing to do with Russia hacking into various computer systems, and there's no evidence to suggest otherwise. So why continue the charade?
Tucker, what we know is that the Russians were laser-focused on lifting the sanctions against their regime as a result of the invasion of Crimea and Ukraine. They were successful in having the Republican Party platform changed. We don't know how or why. We should.
That's ridiculous.
Let me finish.
That's absurd.
Excuse me.
You're saying things are just dumb. We don't know that.
They did change the platform, and we don't know why.
The platform committee, I didn't see any. Was Kislyak there? I didn't see any Russians in the platform committee.
Excuse me. We know the platform committee was changed, and that was an objective.
Because of the Russians. Were they in the meeting?
I didn't say that. If I did, I said we should find out why it was changed. But here's the point.
No, you just said the Russians got it changed in the Republican platform.
Well, then I misspoke.
You don't know that.
No, I wouldn't make that allegation, but we ought to get to the bottom of it. No, listen to me. Listen, Tucker.
So anyone who's against I'm against sanctions on Russia.
Why?
Does that make me a tool of Putin?
Because you don't care about the invasion of Ukraine or Crimea?
No, I don't think those are central to American interests, actually. No, I have a legitimate policy disagreement. Am I a spy, too?
No, you're not a spy.
Oh, I'm not. So we can have a legitimate disagreement without you calling me names?
But it is a mystery why they changed that platform. But listen, here's the larger point that I think we're addressing. Let me finish. Is that the fact is that the Russians engaged in this attack. We should find out why. We should do it in a way that's fair and that gets at the facts. And Bob Mueller should be allowed to do his work.
He is allowed to do his work. You're implying that the Russians were somehow in charge of the Republican Party's platform, that they had an influence on the positions of the candidate or the campaign of the party.
Can I ask you a question? Does it bother you that the administration officials are refusing to answer without invoking executive privilege in front of a United States Senate committee?
It depends what. I mean, I think there's a look, I always want to know more information rather than less. But I do think it's fair for government officials in any administration to say that is privileged information I'm giving to someone I'm working for. That's a long-standing
principle. But the President hasn't invoked executive privilege.
As you know, that's exactly right.
And so on what basis is the Attorney General refusing
Well, he could
to
say,
testify?
look, you know, there's no national interest at stake. There's no reason for me. I don't want to divulge what I said to the President. And if it comes down to it, we're going to invoke executive privilege. Okay, you could debate that. I don't have strong feelings about it. What I have strong feelings about is that Democrats are trying to win a political argument by impugning the character of people by suggesting they're treasonous.
Right. These committees
that's wrong.
These committees are chaired by Republicans. You understand that?
I'm aware.
Both committees.
I don't
House
care.
and the Senate.
I literally don't care of the party ID because people like you are leading an innuendo-based charge against your political
You're talking
opponents.
about Senator McCain and Senator Burr, and you're talking about Mike Conaway, the Republican
I think they're at fault for letting this grotesque charade
continue.
Well,
those aren't Democrats, Tucker, so let's distinguish those two things. And on the subject of executive privilege, you were outraged on this network in 2012 when the Fast and Furious Committee was not allowed to get information without
I don't remember my outrage at the time.
Right. Well, consistency is a difficult thing. Luckily, we looked it up.
Okay.
And on this...
Okay. Oh, you got me there. You got me there.
You were outraged.
No, I was in Moscow taking orders, getting my payments. Thank you, Congressman.
Why are you not outraged?
I don't know.